So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Monday, November the 8th, 2021, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. While we're waiting on Michael to call in, I will just say that I'm going to be posting on the website. You may have seen it already on our Facebook pages, but Michael is going to be doing a program on Veterans Day on Thursday, November the 11th at 11:11 a.m. And it's going to be translated by Nene in Spanish. So it will be in both English and Spanish, so that's awesome. So watch on our website under events. I'll be putting that up this afternoon. And like I said, you may have already seen it on our Facebook pages. But everybody's invited to tap into that. It's going to be on Facebook, so it'll be a live program. And we're looking forward to participating in that. I'll invite you to go to our website, which is WHYAGAIN, WHYAGAIN.org. And you can click on the Start Here button, or you can scroll down and hit the bullseye. Both of those take you to the same place. And that's where you'll find all the tools, the worksheets. You'll find Michael's book. You'll find posters, special MP3 radio shows, lots and lots of information out there. Under the special radio shows, I have also added just the other day, let me find it here, the Why Do Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. That was a radio show from October the 5th. I have also put on where Ellen called in and talked to Michael on October 27th and 28th. We've combined those into one MP3. And then also where Dr. Tim walks Ellen through a wake-up sheet on November 3rd. So all of that now is under the special shows. So click on those and give a listen. If there's another special show that I have overlooked where we have explained the forgiveness process or walked somebody through it, and I don't have that listed under the special page, if you would drop me a note at Jeanie, JEANIE, at whyagain.org, and let me know which show it was, and I will get it edited and put out there. And so we hope that you had a good weekend and that you're starting your week off right. And we invite you to put the tools to work. You know, you don't have to believe it, but if you put them to work, you'll see that they do work. Welcome, Michael. I had given just a brief intro for people to watch the website that I'd be putting the link out that you were going to be doing Thursday, November the 11th at 11:11, a show or a Facebook live presentation that would also be translated into Spanish. So you might want to give a little more detail on that one.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do, some of you have heard Nene Ortega on the show before, and so Nene has done teacher training and studied this work for several years, done presentations in South America, and so this is specifically geared to the Spanish community, so I'll be presenting the information in English, and she'll be translating into Spanish. And we'll have that, once it's complete, available on our website as well. So, and, of course, the topic is going to be first century Aramaic forgiveness and how do we achieve a state of serenity. What's the title of it is actually The Missing Piece, P-E-A-C-E. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And if you want to come play, keep an eye on the links, and I'm sure when Jeannie gets it together, it'll also be in the notes for the radio show. So welcome, honored that you're here. Once again, as we move forward into this amazing conversation, it's the only conversation I know that's been going on for 10 years, and it continues, and it gets more and more refined, and we reach deeper and deeper levels of understanding all the time. And the idea is, in the ancient teachings, they said, know the truth. You want to have liberty? Know the truth. Not know somebody's dogma, not know somebody's doctrine. Know the truth. And one of the things that inhibits people getting to truth is that they have no idea how the mind works, and that they're living in such a way, they're operating the mind in such a way that the mind lives in blockage of truth. For those years ago, and this was a development that happened over years of teaching laws of living. Some of you might remember being in a laws of living class 30 years ago with Dr. Dan McDougall and myself, and we talked about blockage of personal error. And that was a conversation for many years, and that we made mistakes and we blocked awareness of our mistakes. But one day when teaching that class, we stepped into the place of, wait a minute, when we're in error, we see our errors. We're not in blockage of truth at all. The problem is that we call our errors truth. And by filling the mind with our error and calling it truth, we end up in blockage of truth. So let's do a little bit of review of some of the science. Let's go back and listen to the Harvard research that we use often that says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells are firing, the maximum amount of data that goes into the perceptual construct of your mind is 9 bits. It's been estimated that perhaps in that same time frame, which is about a 25th of a second, there may potentially be 20 trillion bits of data available in the actual world. You think about an ant, and an ant looks at a mountain and a lake and a sunset. What do you suppose the ant comprehends about the mountain, the lake, and the sunset with its perceptual apparatus? An ant has eyes. Why doesn't it see what you and I see? Because its mechanism is not designed to show it what our mechanism is designed to show us. So a mosquito's flying around. What does a mosquito see? Oh, infrared. That means warmth. Warmth means there's probably a warm-blooded creature over there, and therefore I can eat. Do you think, as you sit and work on your 5,000-piece puzzle, that the mosquito is getting ready to land on your head and put its proboscis into your skin and draw some blood? Do you think the mosquito has any perceptual construct that resembles anything that you see when you look at this 5,000-piece puzzle half finished and have the comprehension of, oh my God, the work I have to do. Oh, geez. I was talking to him in a store the other day. I was looking at toys and puzzles, and she said, oh, I love to do puzzles, and I was so frustrated because I went and I bought this puzzle, and the puzzle has, I forget how many pieces, but it was a couple thousand pieces, and it has 5 extra pieces, and there's no box top. So, what does that mosquito perceive? It's landing right there on top of your head. Its eyes look down to the same place as your eyes look at the puzzle. Do you think it goes, oh my God, am I ever going to get this puzzle together? Oh, what's the next edge piece? Oh my God, there are 5 extra pieces. Oh, geez, how am I? Do you think the mosquito? So what if our 9-bit minds, in what is perhaps a 20 trillion bit world, is trying to comprehend something that it just has no idea of, that it's so far out of reach? And what do you suppose an ego-centered mind that says, I have to know, does? Makes up all kinds of stories, all kinds of dogmas and doctrines and all sorts of things to try to get some comprehension in this 9-bit mind of what it looks like. And guess what? probably 99.9% of what most make up an error and call their error the truth, and then go forcing other people, in the name of love. If you won't believe what I say, I'm going to send you to hell, or somebody's going to send you to hell. How well do you suppose that person with their mosquito mind is thinking about the puzzle of life? How truly do you suppose their doctrine or dogma, which sounds so good and in the name of love is reinforced with fear and intimidation and hostility and raging and screaming? How much truth do you suppose you're going to find there? Well, probably not going to be very much. So if we live in blockage of truth, we make up a lie, we fill the 9-bit mind with it, and then we call our lie the truth. Then we're going to do all kinds of crazy things to try to make it look like it's true. The indicator in the human mind is doing is not the truth, is that there's hostility and fear active in the mind. Hostility and or fear. So if you get to the core tool that we're offering, it's the tool of forgiveness. It has nothing whatsoever to do with letting other people off the hook for what's happening inside of you. It's got nothing to do with your perception being accurate about them and that it's all their fault and therefore you let them off the hook for it. Forgiveness in the Aramaic language, the tool as it was described, collapses the perceptual construct in your mind that is a lie that you call the truth. If you're in hostility or fear and you think your mind's telling you the truth, your mind's full of it. You're in blockage of truth, but you're calling your lie the truth. What Yeshua taught 2,000 years ago, and the more I work with this, the more it just boggles my mind. I mean, think about the mosquito that opens up and comprehends the puzzle. It boggles my mind to think that somebody 2,000 years ago had this kind of understanding, that if you're in a lie, calling your lie the truth, the solution is collapsing the lie. And by collapsing the lie, that 9-bit space becomes available for truth to come in. And if you make yourself available to truth, truth will totally reorganize your lies. And your diseases are all based in your lies. There is no such thing as a disease in a human form without a lie in that same human form. You'll hear Dr. Tim oftentimes say, approach something with a fresh mind and a mind that says, maybe everything I know or think I know about this is in error. Then I can become available to truth. And if you want to define truth, the best definition I've been able to come up with is, truth is what is. And if you can stop trying to superimpose your perceptual constructs on the truth, what will happen is the energy field, the energy pattern that is truth, will enter into you and restructure you according to the truth. But you've got to be available. And you can't be available if you've got a perceptual construct that says, oh, no, the problem is Harry over there, Mary over here, Bill over there. And you'll notice if you've been through a particular painful reality, 87 different times with 42 different people, you're the only one that was there every time. It's your mind that's in the blockage truth. It's not theirs. Well, theirs might be too. But guess what? Strictly speaking, if you're in hostility or fear, therefore in blockage of truth, their error is none of your business. You've got work to do of your own. And when you realize how profoundly connected, pardon me, I shouldn't say connected, I should say how perception, that construct of the mind, is a reflection of your so-called body, and your body is a reflection of your perception. They are one thing. People do not perceive them that way, so they have difficulty connecting them. Let's use an example. Imagine I've got a silver dollar, and I don't know these days whose head is on the front side of the silver dollar, but let's take a man, from somewhere remote in the world, isolated, uneducated, no contact with anything or anybody that knows anything about the modern world. And we hold this silver dollar in our hand. Actually, we hold two silver dollars in hand. And one silver dollar we show this fellow. And as I say, I don't know who's on the silver dollar at this point, but let's say it's George Washington. And this man looks at the silver dollar and he says, "That's a man. I have that much knowledge." And we say, "Well, would you like to know his name?" He says, "Sure, George Washington." Okay. So that's George Washington. And then we show him the second silver dollar and we show him the other side. And on the other side of it, there's a bird. And he says, "That's a bird." We say, "Yes, you're right. That's an eagle." But because he does not know what a coin is, eagle way over here to the left and George Washington way over to the right have nothing to do with each other. But in fact, if he could only comprehend it, they are one coin. We're looking at one side and seeing an eagle, the other side and seeing George Washington. That's your so-called body. When you look at the constructs of your body, the thing called perception, that is a reflection of a way of looking at your body, the same way as looking at the bird is a way of looking at the coin. If you look at your body, that would be the other side of the coin, George Washington. It's something not related to that bird over there. But when you really look at it, just like the coin, the head and the tail are not two separate things. They are different sides of the same thing. And until this man can comprehend what a coin is, it's going to look like a bird and George Washington, a bird and a man, and that's it. And so it is with most people. Oh, I have a body and I have a mind. But they don't have anything, they don't have anything to do with the other. I got the mind over here, I got the body over here. If I have rage and fear and guilt firing off in my mind and I'm in deep pained perception, probably blaming someone else, well, that has nothing to do with the fact that, I have this horrific, cancel the thought, pain in my gut. Body's over there, mind's over there. It's a comprehension that they are each reflections of exactly the same thing. Real healing becomes a difficult project. When you realize that pained perception reflects in the body as a dis-ease process, and a dis-ease process in the body will reflect as pained perception, then you have a key way to moving into the cause level of what it takes to heal the body. And there is no healing of the body if you don't heal its reflection, and vice versa. There's no healing of perception if you don't deal with what's going with the energy patterns that are going on within the body, or the so-called body. And the reason for that is because there is no body to begin with. There's only energy. And if we listen to Einstein, he says, on such things as matter, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy, energy whose vibrations have become so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. There's no such thing as material substance. There is energy organized into the appearance of form. What's the master organizer? If you go to the opening words in the book of John, it doesn't say, as the Greeks would tell us, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh. It says in the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh. So your mind energy is going to reflect as your physiology. If you have diseased mind energy, hostility or fear going on, then your physiology is going to be in pain and it's going to be diseased. If you have diseased physiology, pain going on in your physiology, then you're going to have perceptual constructs based in that pain, and they're going to be called some reflection of hostility or fear. You can't heal one without the other, and you can't have one without the other. And so what we're looking to do is to give people a tool. You know, there's been, so many thousands of man-hours, years of man-hours put into studying disease. And if the people who put their thousands of hours into studying disease understood that when through their perceptual apparatus they allow a disease energy to enter, their physiology will become diseased, they'd start to question themselves in their study of disease. It's interesting. There's a thing that's been recognized in all of the disease schools. It's called the second year syndrome. And by the second year, it doesn't matter whether it's in the so-called physical disease realm or the psychological or what have you, but by the second year of focus on and study of disease, these students are developing the diseases that they're studying. Why? Because you can't have one without the other. The study of disease will profit you nothing, ever. You don't need to know anything about diseases. If you know the cause of health, and you make that your study and your focus, because your perceptual apparatus will only be focusing in and bringing in frequencies that support life, then your physiology is going to be filled with life. And you remember this man, Yeshua, 2,000 years ago said, I come to bring you life, and bring life more abundantly. So our work in this, under this title of Why Is This Happening to Me Again, is about understanding the principles behind how we create our lives and how to change our creative process. Most people never take control of that faculty because they live in the has-been. And if you've been following along with us, we've been reading from the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And what you can do about it. And the we're on is Waking from the Has-Been, Chapter 20. If you're following along with us in the book, we're on page 140. So moving out of the has-been, and the has-been basically says everything that's stored in this container called a body-mind unit, by definition, if it's stored there, it's stored there because somewhere in someone's past, that individual came into the experience of that energy. And if we allow ourselves to get lost in the experience of those energies based in hostility, fear, rage, guilt, grief, pain, drama, and trauma, condemnation, gossip, slander, vengeance, if we allow ourselves to get focused there, then we're going to be engaging in the cause, suffering, and death. how many generations? You know, there's a song back a few years ago, how long has this been going on? Well, let's take a look at our history books. How long is this conflict and suffering and pain and trauma and drama and hatred and vengeance and war, degradation of self and others? How long has that been going on? Well, for about as long as recorded history's been there. And so in the has-been of each individual on the earth, there's this highly emotionally charged trap called rage and vengeance and punishment and guilt and grief. And most people's perceptual constructs, at least to some degree, are based in that, which means it's based in their disease. Disease not being an energy, or pardon me, not being an entity like dis-ease. There's just a thing that's out to get us. But dis-ease is a lack of a state of ease, that there is stored somewhere in the structure an energetic pattern that does not belong in the structure. And so what forgiveness does is forgiveness gives us a tool with which to collapse perception. And when you collapse perception, it collapses in on itself and gives you direct access to what it is that's distorting physiology. And when you remove that, physiology is restored. That's the genius of first century Aramaic forgiveness. And so what we're looking to do is to bring forward the deepest possible level of understanding of these tools and to move into the space where the tools become functional. And so I just finished explaining to Richard that spiritual teachings give people tools, rituals, with which to bring forward our true nature and to undo what never belonged. And it's not hocus pocus, it's not mystical, it's not anything other than it's just what the energy is. It's energy that exists on a higher level, mind energy, and we're looking to understand the impact that that has, and if it's had an impact, how to undo it. The mind, storing everything from the past, will tend to continue to generate perceptions based in the past, and people will be stuck in that past. And what we're looking to do is to support people awakening and going beyond that, and to realize that they are the thinker. The thinker is not the thought. They are the actor. The actor is not the action. So I go along with, move forward with Richard in the conversation. Once a person realizes there's another way to live life, and there are real tools available for doing spiritual work, it often seems as though nothing else matters. Finding this other way of living in the Aramaic was called, quote, finding the pearl of great price. It is exciting to catch the vision of a new self, alive and vibrating with the delight of existence, coming into expression, the old painful life of the mind passing away. In its roots, this spiritual process was known as awakening or being reborn, a very real experience. But we're not talking about the mind that has no clue of what's really going on, making up stories about it. What we're looking to do is to give people very real, practical tools that operate right where you live. You know, Michael, when someone asks, have you been reborn, I usually feel like I'm about to be pounced on if I don't answer the right way, the way they expect. I feel like I'll be cut off because I'm not part of their in-crowd. And I offer Richard the thought, I think you will find that the person who uses force and becomes obnoxious when asking a question about being reborn is not as reborn as they would like to think. Love does not abuse. It gently demonstrates what it has found and holds the space for others to find the gift. Some people get genuinely enthusiastic, perhaps overly enthusiastic, in their desire to help others define what they've experienced. Oftentimes that can lead to a little overzealousness. I see that there's another level of meaning behind, quote-unquote, reborn, Richard said pensively. I'm ready to wake up. I want that process over with yesterday. Let's do it. Richard was at a new level of enthusiasm. Slow down a little, Richard. If you get ahead of yourself, you'll wreak havoc in your life. In the Aramaic, people were warned, quote, not to storm the gates, not to go too quickly. Doing your inner work is a process that takes time, and remaining in balance throughout that process makes life much easier, I cautioned. Each of the tools we offer is designed to assist in keeping that balance. Some people get so excited about the intellectual aspect of the work, they forget to use the tools. Using them is of paramount importance for the maintaining of balance. And so that's our conversation today with Richard. And what I'd like to do is just open the phone lines. Miss Jeannie, we got anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room? Hello, Jeannie.
My phone disappeared. It was like trying to get it back on, find out where it was. No, it's all. Oh, we just had a hand go up. Area code 417. Awesome. I think this is Miss Judy.
Oh, let's say hello to Judy. Hey, young lady.
Hello, hello.
Hey, how do you be?
Good. Working on stuff. Killing and mending.
You're working on, say it again, I didn't hear the word used. You're working on?
Stuff.
Oh, stuff. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Working through your stuff.
Yeah.
I understand.
I had a question about what you were talking about earlier on perception. Did you? And I just want some clarification on it. Were you saying, and are you saying, that our body is a manifestation of our perception?
Well, I would say it slightly differently. Our so-called body is a manifestation of the creative process, but it's a reflection of our perception.
A reflection of it, okay.
Yeah. So there.
Okay.
A signal comes in on your TV. It's a digital piece of information, and the digital piece of information is converted into a picture. So you've got a signal. If you were to look at it in the wires, there'd be this movement of electrons, and then when these electrons hit your screen, the phosphors on your screen, all of a sudden you've got a picture. So. And so they are reflections of each other, but they are not the cause of each other. The signal has to come out from the television station for that to arrive at your TV. So the Creator created. We're made in the image and likeness of the Creator. We get to engage in creation. And my offering would be that our engaging in creation is what is manifest in our form. And our perception is a reflection that will tell us if there's hostility or fear involved, that we're off base and we need to correct our creative process. when we engage in an energy, if you go to the cell biologist lab today, they'll tell you that when you think a thought, that thought produces a molecule, a literal molecule shows up in your structure. It circulates around in the structure until it finds a cell with a receptor site that matches. When it does, it lands on the cell. It inserts itself in the cell and shows up as chemistry. That's what the cell biologists are telling us. And when that molecule lands on the cell instantly informs us of the quality of the process we're engaging in. If we're engaging in mind energy that is of a disintegrative nature, thought disorders, hostility, and fear, then the cell's going to reflect some form of hostility or fear. And it's a warning signal. It's telling you, this is what you're doing to yourself. And the world has been doing it for so long that the world says, well, there's no other way to do it. Because we've been doing this for so long. We killed 175 million people in war, over a period of time. And we, think that's okay. And, well, really? For love to do that? Are you kidding me? So in our own individual creative process, given the ability to source mind energy, we're continuously being informed by our physiology, by its manifestation. And it's interesting, in the Aramaic language, the word manifest doesn't resemble what the culture talks about. Manifest your new car, manifest $1 million, you're going to be wealthy. The word manifest in Aramaic, a closer word to describe the word manifest would be obvious. So if something's obvious to me, let's say I come up with a power person dynamic where I know that when there's an authority around, I'm going to be attacked. Well, it's obvious to me that's going to happen. What that means is I've engaged in a creative energy that is going to send out a signal and call any authority within my field of the sphere of my influence. I'm going to call any authority in to abuse me. And so what I know is obvious is what is manifest, is what I bring into existence. If I know that, no matter what happens, what's going to occur, what's obvious to me is that authority is always there to support me, then I'm going to create something totally different. I'm going to set up a different signal, and I'm going to resonate, pull some authority in to support me and bring about a higher result.
Right.
Is that fitting with your question? Is that answering?
Well, more or less, yeah. We kind of took the long way around, but I had a feeling when I was thinking, there's a feeling that came up when I was thinking about, manifesting our perceptions in our body language, in our thoughts and everything. That is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. They did some research in the prisons. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say they did some research in the prisons, and they did the reverse of what we think of as the lineup. A prison or a police lineup. They take all the possible bad guys. They put them in a lineup, and they have somebody standing behind a two-way mirror, and they look and they pick out the criminal. But they reversed that in this set of experiments, and they had people come into a prison where on the other side of the two-way mirror were the prisoners, the criminals, and they would bring John Q. Average in from the street and parade them in front of the prisoners. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but a significantly high number of people in the lineup that would be the target of the criminal were picked by the criminals looking through the two-way glass. Oh, there's the one I'd go after. There's the one, there's the one, there's the one. And, I don't remember what it was, 70, 80, 90% of the criminals out of, if there were 20 people in the lineup, and there were 10 criminals behind the two-way mirror, 9 of the 10 criminals would pick the same 1 out of 20 that they would attack.
Right.
In other words, resonance. We're gonna draw people who are in tune with what energetic patterns we're engaged in, and the victim draws victims, and those who are in a consciousness and an energetic pattern of support will draw support.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so if we find ourselves, let's say, for instance, continuously in a victim place, that's where one would pick up the worksheets and start doing forgiveness around being a victim until that energy was disappeared. And once that energy of victimhood was disappeared, then no longer would they resonate people in who would victimize them. And that dynamic would change in their lives. So what in the old days, what was obvious to them is I'm always a victim, and so they certainly had a great number of accusers and attackers. But when they moved into, I'm innocent and I always get support, then what showed up were people who saw them as innocent and supported them. Law of resonance. What's obvious, we manifest.
Right.
And if we're manifesting something, that's where we want to do our forgiveness work.
My daughter has, my one daughter that she was what they call the black sheep of the family. She's the one that would break the rules and the one that would do everything that you didn't want her to do. She would definitely.
Right.
She would try her hand at it. And she just caused so much turmoil in the family with her decisions. And she's been calling me for the last couple. What?
Question. Did she cause so much turmoil? Or was she the one that set it into action so that everybody became aware of the turmoil that otherwise they lived their lives hiding from themselves?
Yeah. She had the DNA. She has the DNA of my grandmother. And she behaves just like my grandmother. And so all these years that I've worked with this Aramaic forgiveness and over at Heartland, inviting her, encouraging her, she's never taken me up on it. And so now she started calling me and talking to me on the phone, and we'll talk up to 4 or 5 hours at a time. And it's just like once every 3 to 4 weeks. But when she's finished with me, she cries almost the whole time. And talking about her life and what's going on and what her and the kids have been through with the decisions that she's made and that others made. And I keep encouraging her to stop living in the past and start living in the present. And I keep encouraging her to, I've given her the phone number for the Heartland radio show to listen. And she just refuses to do it, but she just it's like she wants to live there. And so I'm holding the space of love for her on the phone for just for how many hours. And I noticed that after we hang up and I go to bed to go to sleep that night, I can't sleep. And it takes me about 3 or 4 days to get back to normal. The impact that I'm responding to these phone calls is like I'm holding that space and I feel calm, but I'm having reactions in other ways to these phone calls. And I don't know if I don't know what her intention is to call me and to put all this stuff on me. I can't do anything about it for her. All I can do is encourage her and do worksheets around it. And I've tried to break the phone calls off, like put a limit to it, and she goes past it. I'll try to, I'll say, well, it's time for me to go to bed. And she'll say, okay. And then she starts on another tangent of something. And we go on and on and on. And so I'm at a loss on how to communicate to her, we need to keep it at a limit, you know. If she's not going to try to work on changing the way that she's looking at it, and she's just living it over and over and over again. One of her children was very badly abused by a stepfather.
Right.
And they still have it in court. It's been in court for 5 years, and it's just wearing on the family. And I keep encouraging them to forgive. The man was not born that way, and just keep going, you know.
So then my offering would be, in that situation, your forgiveness work would be to look at if you were, let's say you were on the phone with her right now, it's getting late, you're tired, you've had a long day, what would be the ideal outcome? If she were to just spontaneously do what you want her to do, what would that be?
We'd do a worksheet together.
Okay. So then your forgiveness process around this at this point is going to be to cancel your goal to do a worksheet with her.
Okay. Well, you know,
and it sounds like, go ahead.
That might be my problem, is I'm setting goals for her.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Oh, I got to let that go.
That's right. So the other piece of the puzzle is that notice when you're on the phone, you'd like to control her. And it sounds like the goal that you hold in that specific situation, it's 9 o'clock at night and here she is, that the goal would really be for her to be sensitive to your need to complete the conversation. Sensitive, yeah. and for her to voluntarily let the conversation go. And then tie that back to what you said, and it might be worth going back and listening to the show again. Tie this back to where you started the conversation with her. She's the one that would do anything. And notice she's still doing it.
Yeah.
She's going to hang on to you on the phone. She's going to keep a hold of you. And you want her to be sensitive to your needs. So it sounds like maybe a worksheet around canceling your need for her to be sensitive to your need and your desires would be useful.
Right. The other thing I wanted for her was for her to take responsibility for what she's thinking, you know?
Yeah.
And so she can have some choices here. It's like
so there's your third worksheet.
She's stuck in this cycle, which is called hell.
There's your third worksheet.
Yeah, okay.
Got it?
That's good. I got 3 good worksheets right now.
Okay.
All right.
Now wait a minute, we're not finished yet. Let's step back another step. And you remember how many times over the years when you come to Heartland Tune Intensive, you'd hear me talk about how having a child is like having your unconscious mind hang out in true living color and Dolby sound, and everything you've never dealt with, they're going to do. They're going to bring it up. So, if you go back into your childhood, were you the one who would just keep it going? Were you the one that would do whatever setting everybody else in the family?
No, like I said, she is the exact DNA of my grandmother, and my grandmother was that way. And we would go out to eat. She was born on an Indian reservation in Oklahoma, and she had a wild side.
Your grandmother?
Yes, and she would drink. And we'd go out to eat in the restaurant, and if she was drinking, she could clear the restaurant, and we'd be under the table. She's and this was her when she was drinking. This is the way she was, and that's the way my daughter is when she's drinking, and she drinks still every night. She drinks.
Yeah. So, what would you like her to do?
Well, the only thing I suggested to her that I think she got was she had to turn it over to God and just let him have it and move on.
Yeah. But would you really like to see her get sober?
I would like to see whatever it is that she's trying to relieve her pain from. I'd like to see that leave so she could get sober.
Mm-hmm. Next worksheet.
Okay.
Now let's go back to the days when you're in a restaurant with your grandmother and she's been drinking and clears the restaurant. What did you want from her?
I felt fear. And because when grandmother got like that, everybody around her was her enemy. I loved my grandmother. I loved her so much. And I don't care what she did. I loved her. And
right.
She had that kind of a personality, and she was so sweet when she was not drinking.
Right.
And she was one of the kindest people I ever knew. Now, what was your original question?
But
I got lost.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Stepping into a little unconsciousness with support is a good thing. So, if you'd had your druthers and you're sitting in the restaurant and your grandmother's doing her thing, in your words, emptying the restaurant, and you were in fear, what would you have said to her if you could have changed her behavior? What would you have directed her to do?
First off, I would have let her know that I loved her.
Okay.
I would try to have comforted her, to let her know that she was loved.
Okay, so notice this how identical this is with your daughter.
Yeah, that's what I do with her.
So, yeah. And so notice that your goal for your grandmother would have been to be open and accept your love and support.
Right.
And your daughter is a reflection of that.
Yes.
So that would be, there'd be a worksheet to do on grandmother and a worksheet to do on your daughter.
Got it.
And then, let's go to the next level. If you were to look at the relationships that you've had in your life with men, was their goal for them to be able to accept your love and support? Was it another reflection? I'm thinking back to when you first came to Heartland and you were at odds with your husband at that time. You were in the process of a divorce. Would that be a similar goal? Are you breathing?
Oh, I am now, yeah.
Okay, take a breath. Let's breathe into this. Breathe together. How would life have been? Yeah.
We were on different pages.
And you were in the restaurant with your grandmother. You're on different pages. She's in her rockin', outrageous, can clear the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you're in
on the warpath.
Grandma, I just want to let you know how much I cherish you. You're on different pages. You're on the phone with your granddaughter, and you're on different pages.
Yeah. Grandmother was on the warpath, and Angela's caught in the cycle of her demise that she's lived through.
And your former?
And the husband. I didn't even think he was getting the message at all.
Yeah. Is your daughter getting the message?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Did your grandmother ever get the message?
I don't think so. Not when she was drinking.
Yeah.
And when Angie's drinking, she's not going to get it either.
So my offering is that it sounds like what's coming up for you in those moments where you're in stress on the phone with your daughter, it's that whole dynamic that is your opportunity to clear out of your field, so that you could be there with her and she's in her guilt or her blame or her victimhood, whatever it is, and she's had 5 drinks and she's just outrageous, and you could sit in a gentle breath and be at total peace because you've cleared your trauma out around that pattern in your life, in your body.
Right.
So that would be my vote for you, that you're able to clean that out of your field and be finished with it.
Right. So I will do that and just see how it goes.
Well, we'll be holding the space, young lady.
Well, I sure thank you. Thank you,
nice
Dave.
Piece of work. Yeah, that's going to be really powerful for you.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I can feel it already. Thank you,
right,
Michael
awesome.
and Jean.
Okay, blessings.
Bye-bye.
Very cool. Nice work. Okay. So we're down to about 5 minutes. If you're out there in listener land, there's time for one more conversation. If you're on a station we can't see you, our calling number is 563-999-3581. Give us a call. Let's have a conversation. Other than that, I did have a question from a woman today, actually, that sent me a message through Facebook. And her question was about the Greek translations of the Aramaic teachings. And let me just read the question to you. She sent me a link to a book about Aramaic versus English, and her question was, or her statement, I would love your input on the significance of the Aramaic language versus the Greek interpretation and usurpation of the message. So I'll answer it for her and let her know that we talked about this on the show. My offering is that if Yeshua sat in most churches found in Greek Bibles, that he would say, that's all Greek to me. He would be, if we went back to the analogy I used in the beginning, he'd be the fly looking at the jigsaw puzzle compared to the mosquito looking at the jigsaw puzzle. They're not seeing the same thing. They may be standing in front of the same thing, but the perceptual apparatus has such a different foundation that one cannot conceive of what the other is thinking or experiencing. You might remember they said, east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. In other words, the Eastern expressions of the teachings of Yeshua do not translate into English, period. I mean, there are many cases where it takes literally a whole paragraph to represent what one word in Aramaic represents. I use an example. You contact me, we have a conversation, we're going to do a series of workshops, and there's a fellow from Russia that wants to come to the workshop, and I know that you are an expert translator of Russian to English and English to Russian, in fact, the best in the world. And I know you've got an extra room in your house, and I say, well, gee, we've got this fellow that wants to come to the workshop. Would you pick him up at the airport? Would you house him? Would you translate for him? And you're like, oh, yeah, man, that'd be awesome. And you do that, and we spend a week together. And, we have lunch and dinner with this person a couple of times. And at the end of the week, as you're getting ready to take him back to the airport, drop him off, and I want you to convey to him how I really cherish him and honor him and how I think of him. And so I say, would you please tell him before you drop him off that I think he's really cool? And you turn to him in your best Russian and you say, Michael thinks you've got a low body temperature. You translated my words perfectly, and you didn't say a word about what I meant. Most of what the Greek scriptures convey don't say a word about what the man Yeshua meant. They say what the Greek gods had to say to man. And it's insane. And that's why people are living in fear and terror of a creator that, according to Yeshua, if you go to his native Aramaic, is love, and his good pleasure is to give us the community of love. Which message? And we're down to the last few seconds, so I'm going to just say thank you for joining us. Have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings. Bye-bye.